Shalom, shalom. I'm a servant of Yahweh. All right. May the Most High Yahweh protect you and bless you in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shi Hamashiach. I'm here to give you some real background story and what's going on, all right, with the whole Masharah Yasharahla. And you see people making videos about different things and about me and about what they're doing, what they're not gonna do, who's off the council, who's gonna be on the council, all right? So I'm gonna just set the record straight for you, all right? And what I'm saying to you is gonna be the absolute truth, the whole truth. So help me God, okay? This is the real deal story about what happened, how it happened, and why it happened. And listen very closely, right? Because you ain't gonna get this nowhere else. I ain't trying to look good for nobody, right? I'm not trying to impress you. I just want you to be clear on what's going on so that you can make an informed decision. And guess what? I'm not gonna use a bunch of scriptures to try to persuade you that what I'm saying and my interpretation of the scriptures is the right thing. I'm not gonna try to persuade you with psychology or none of that type of stuff, all right? I'm just gonna tell you exactly what happened, right? I came into this walk of knowing I was an Israelite, okay, in January of 1994. I had lived a different type of lifestyle, and I was still young at the time, right? I had done a lot of things in my short lifespan at the time. I was 20 years old, all right? I was 20 years old going on 21 when I first found out I was an Israelite. I was Yasharahla, okay? So, like all the other elders that came out of Masharah Yasharahla, we all had been under the leadership of King Masha. You understand? King Masha. He was the leader of Israel, for us at least, at the time. For us. Can't speak for nobody else, no other organizations or groups. He was our leader. Take it for what it's worth. You may like it, dislike it, agree with it, disagree with it. But there's a moral to the point that I'm making. All right? So Masha, he told everybody under him, don't mess with this book of Enoch. This book of Enoch is trouble. Don't mess with the book of Enoch. El libro de Enoch, ¿verdad? Don't mess with this book. Don't mess with this book. Now, at the same time, you had Yaquab and Ariel, who were close brothers, very close friends, very, very good men. You don't find men like that nowadays. Very, very good moral character, strong fiber, all right, honest men, upright men, strong men, and humility examples. You don't find these types of men anymore in Israel. All right. You find everybody's looking for the limelight, looking for the spotlight, and everybody's like a one-man show. And that's fine if you can put on a show that people really need. So Masha told everybody, don't mess with this book of Enoch. So I'm getting to what is the origin of the conflict that you see going on with Masharah and Yasharahla. And I'm not going to be blowing a whole lot of smoke. I'm going to just tell it to you real and raw. And you can respect and you can appreciate it. So they also, when they did the calendar, they used the black moon to do the calendar. Now, this is in 1994 when I came in, right? My elders that's with me now, Nathaniel, he was with them since 1985, 1986. And they were using the black moon. But everybody didn't know how to do the calendar. Mostly it was Yaquab's son, all right, who's Ariah. He was the main one doing the calendar, so he knew how to do the calendars. So everybody relied on him to do the calendars. All right, so as time went on, 1994, 95, 96, I became interested in doing the calendars also. So I figured, how they doing the calendar? What they doing about the new moon? Well, when's the new moon? So then I started studying about the technicalities about how do you figure out the new moon? How do you know when the new moon is? So granted, trial and error. Ariel wasn't perfect. He made some mistakes when he was doing the calendar, but he started with the black moon, which was the new moon. So this is, like I said, 1994 for me, January. And my elder Nathaniel, he'd been doing this for Yasharahla at the school on 1 West 125th Street since 1985, 86. So he's my senior. He's been doing this longer than me, and he's still doing the same thing now. As a matter of fact, he was the one put over the calendar office for Masharah Yasharahla. So let me get down to the root of the story. Let's go on in time. So him and I are together. You know, we have different schools in different cities and different parts of the Midwest, all right, Ohio, Indianapolis. We have relationships with people in different cities and states in that general area, okay? So when we come together when we come together with Barack and everybody else, Barack and Matatwa, and there it was hosted by a brother in DC, and you had a bunch of other guys there. But I'm only gonna give the names of the guys that are relevant to the story that I'm telling right now. All right, I'm not gonna give peripheral stories about anybody or everybody else. They can have their own time to tell their story that centers on the characters that they want in that story. I'm not gonna put people in my story that I'm not gonna speak about right now. So no offense or no disrespect to nobody. You may not just be relevant to what I have to say at this moment, but there may be some room for you in another video if you feel like I disrespected you by not mentioning your name. So there was myself. There was Aquan Nathaniel. There was Barack. There was Matatwa. There was Banya. There was Ash. Now these four men were from the House of David Church, which then became House of David Camp. Okay, and then might know a man by the name of Priest Awam from California. And then there was Kahan of LOZ, and there was Shalama of LOZ, and there was Zaquan of Yahweh's Camp. So I believe I named 10 men. So these 10 men became part of the council, all right, at the time. This is in 2014. These men became part of the council. You understand? So when they became part of the council, I was on that same council of elders of Masharah Yasharahla. Okay, so now with this council, okay, with this council, all of us were keeping the black moon. None of us were using the book of Enoch. None of us were using the book of Enoch. We were using the black moon to figure out the calendars. I had become sharper over the years on how to calculate the months using the new moons. All right, I prayed for it. The Most High mercifully gave me understanding of how to calculate the new moon. And I thank him for that. He gave me the understanding. He let me see the constellations and the role that the constellations, that the stars, the moon, and the sun, and how they all work together to give you a cosmic clock, as it were, right? All right, so boom. So everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's keeping the same calendar. They had some differences on when it's Pentecost. Oh, it's the Sabbath after the Passover. Oh, no, it's the Sabbath that is talking about in Leviticus 23 is talking about the annual Sabbath of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So that small little dispute you had, you can't take or give nothing away from it because it wasn't really anything substantial to our relationship. So now we're talking 1990, we're talking 2014. Now here comes 2015, right? Here comes 2015, and we're still doing the summits. So now we have a summit in Ohio, and at the summit in Ohio, they said, well, we want Karash to be on the council for Masharah Yasharahla. And we like, okay, well, whatever, hey. So Karash gets put on the council. So now there's 11 elders on the council. All right. So now we have 11 men on the council. And granted, all of us are still doing a black moon. And then there was a document introduced, which is called the Articles of Belief. And the Articles of Belief basically had one part of it I'll talk about specifically, was the article about the holy convocations that talked about the black moon was the moon for the new moon. What was stated as the inferior conjunction. Inferior means shorter, conjunction means it's lined up with the sun. So the short distance when the moon is lined up with the sun, as opposed to the full moon, the superior conjunction, when the moon is far away from the sun. So the inferior conjunction means the distance between the moon and the sun is the shortest. And the conjunction means they line up. So with the inferior conjunction, that's what it stated was the new moon in this document. And it had all of the documents, or had all of the doctrines that we all had in common. I'm talking about the house of David. I'm talking about Karash. I'm talking about Nathaniel. I'm talking about Dawam. I'm talking about the Howard's camp in North Carolina. I didn't know some of these guys, right? I didn't know Barak. I knew Banyamyan. I met Banyamyan back in 1994. In the summertime, when I first came into the truth from January, when the summertime came, I went back to New York. I went to New York and I went to Queens, and then I went to Brooklyn and saw the camp down there teaching in front of the shoe store in Brooklyn, right? Downtown Brooklyn. Hoyt and Schermerhorn, Schenectady or something. Neither here nor there, but I knew Banyamyan. I didn't know Zaquan. Nathaniel knew these characters, but I didn't know these characters. I knew Dawam. And the reason I knew Dawam was because when he started when he was working with the We Got Next movement, he came to see us in Ohio to try to bring Israel together. So he had already been trying to bring the Israelites together before there was any type of movement of to have us work with him and join with him to be part of a council. Now, Barak and them came to Ohio also, but they didn't come to talk to us. They came to try to set up a camp in Ohio, and they said, well, Parazah and Nathaniel, Parazah, they already got a camp in Ohio. They've been here for years. You know, we're teaching brothers on the street or whatever, but they said, I don't know Parazah, so we're going to continue on. There was no unity to try to get with us. There was no trying to work with us as brothers. There was none of that. It was just, we're coming to this state and this city, and we're going to set up a camp, and that was it. Dawam came, you know, as a diplomat. He came as a man of integrity, trying to respect what was already built up and trying to bring it all together to be part of a larger body that had many different organizations a part of it. All right, this is what Dawam, and there were other brothers that were part of that We Got Next movement, but Dawam is part of the story. That's why I'm talking about Dawam. Other brothers, no disrespect, but I can't say everybody's name every time, all right? So don't take it no certain kind of way. There's no slight on nobody. All right, so boom. So now Karash gets put on the council at 2015, and we had some friction between us based on misconception and misunderstandings about authority and who had to do what. You understand? I won't go into all of that right now. I won't get personal about anything either. I'm going to keep everything strictly superficial. Like I said, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. All right? So he gets put onto the council. We all will believe in the same thing, to my knowledge. To my knowledge. The house of David wasn't using the crescent moon. They weren't using the book of Enoch. The elders from the house of David that were part of Masharah Yasharahla, which is Banyanyan, Ash, Mathathwa, and Barak, were not using the crescent moon. And we had our holy dates the same for Passover. Only dates that we had differently was for the feast of the Feast of Weeks. That's the only day we would have differently. But they weren't using the crescent moon. So time goes by, 2014, 2015, 2016, and then boom, all of a sudden, if I'm not mistaken, in the year 2017, what happened? These guys from the house of David, Barak and Mathathwa, all right, and, you know, I think, I don't know if Banyamyan was there or not, all right, or out there. They take a trip over to Israel, and they come back and they make videos about the book of Enoch. They make videos about the crescent moon. And we're like, what the freak is going on? What the heck are these guys doing? This is totally against what we all do in our own communities. Why are these guys just switching up? Now, they haven't talked to nobody. They haven't counseled with nobody. They haven't had no conversation with nobody in no counsel setting or with us personally, with me personally, indirectly or directly, about switching up the calendar. And we know that the holy days are very important to every Israelite. I mean, we wait for Passover. We get special clothes for Passover. We make sure our calendar is clear and that our jobs give us time off for Passover, Feast of Tabernacles. We make sure it's very important. And these are holy days that we see in Leviticus chapter 23 that we're supposed to keep. So these guys just arbitrarily decide to go over here, meet with some guy that none of us knew or had a relationship with. None of us knew this guy or had a relationship with him, so he was able to convince them, and they changed what their school did. That's the root of why we have this friction now. And now they want to be allowed to stay on the council and still use the book of Enoch and still use the crescent moon. But we wasn't doing that when we first got together. So these guys got brand new. These guys brought in a whole new doctrine. These guys started doing something that their elders told them not to do, and they did it. And they want to sit in that seat of eldership over the nation after you've switched up your doctrine. Now, if these guys want to switch up their doctrines, they want to do something different, you're going to do what you're going to do. You're a grown man. But don't try to make it as if we on the council need to flow with you because you think you have some type of authority and we got to let you sit on the council and start to practice things that we weren't practicing when we all got together. So you might say, well, yeah, they did this and did that, whatever. Okay. So as time goes on, we have Karash. All right. We have Karash. And Karash starts to say, well, look, I think we can cook on a Sabbath day. And they get Karash on the phone. No, we have a conference call. You can't cook on a Sabbath day. That's it, bam. So they tell Karash he can't cook on a Sabbath day. Then we have a debate with, they have a debate. I wasn't there. They had a debate with Guerrilla Hebrew about the lunar Sabbath, all right, and bam. They have the debate, and okay, lunar Sabbath is off. We disproved it. This is what they're saying. But there's no debate about Book of Enoch. There's no debate about the crescent moon. There's no debate about them being able to change their doctrine in midstream and still stay on the council. There's no debate about that. So it's an arbitrary selection of what we're going to talk about before we change it, or what we're going to talk about that somebody else is doing wrong, and what we're not going to talk about that somebody else is doing wrong. And plain and simple, they did not want to talk about the doctrine that they changed. They didn't want to they wanted to just change what they were doing, and nobody's supposed to say nothing. Nobody's supposed to stand up to them and say, no, you can't change that. Nobody's supposed to stand up to them and be like, you can't try to get the council to vote. These guys were trying to get people to vote about the holy days. They tried to get people to vote on if we were going to have a Sabbath, a holy day that was based on the articles of belief, the black moon, or based on the new doctrine that they brought in, which was the crescent moon, based on their understanding of the book of Enoch. So they wanted the whole council of elders and officers, well, let's just take a vote. And myself, I was like, no, we're not voting on this. We're not voting on what holy day is. We're not going to cast lots about a holy day. You have a whole office set up. But they wanted to strip that authority from Nathaniah as the elder of the calendar, who put the calendar together. I watched him put the calendar together on his own by himself, and he passed it off to me to verify. And I would pass it off to my Isha, and she would verify it also. And then we pass it off to some more people, and everybody, okay, this needs to be changed, this needs to be fine-tuned a little bit, and we got the right dates. Everybody was coinciding, no big problem. And it was a group effort. So these guys just came in and said, well, we're not going to follow those dates anymore. And if you go to MasharahYasharahla.com, which is the website that Barack put together, it was some monkey business going on. Because all of the dates that they said are Masharah Yasharahla dates were not the dates from the calendar that the Masharah Yasharahla Office of Calendar put together. They were dates from House of David website and the House of David Holy Days, which was based upon the Book of Enoch doctrine of the crescent moon. So now the House of David, Barack chose to put dates on Masharah Yasharahla website that were not in line with the Masharah Yasharahla government dates that office responsible for the dates had put out. He put his own dates that the House of David, most likely being calculated by Karanazar Allah, put together. And Karanazar Allah has stated that he always believed in the Book of Enoch, but the other elders didn't believe in it, so he just did the calendar with the black moon because that's what they believed and that's what they did. And I think that that's not morally correct to do. To do something spiritual that goes against your belief because you want to please the crowd or because the leadership says to do it, so you do it. So that, my brothers and sisters, is the root, is the origin of the elders' conflict. The elders that were sitting on the council of Masharah Yasharahla wanted to bring in a whole different way to calculate the calendar. And that's why you see Barack, who's the spokesperson, saying that Masharah Yasharahla has no official dates. So when we approached him about these dates, now we got to have a vote. We have no official dates. Shh. But when we were quiet about the dates, he put his own dates as the official dates. But he can't put our dates, which are based upon the articles of belief, as the official dates. What kind of bananas is that? What kind of malarkey is that? This guy is going to put his own dates, and it's not his office, from his camp, his school, as the official Masharah Yasharahla dates, which they weren't. But then when the official Masharah Yasharahla office gives him and tells them these are the dates, he says, no, we're not going to use those dates. It's like a total dictatorship. That's not protocol. You don't get to change what is the standard for a whole council and then make your school's protocols the default and then get to push out the official government office. And that's why they were saying that we want to have a vote, because you had the dates that the House of David had, and then you had the government dates that the elder over the calendar for Masharah Yasharahla that he had, man. And that's when everything started, all right? So I have no personal vendetta against none of these guys. This is all spiritual. I have no personal vendetta. This video is only made to clear the air, to tell you what is the conflict. And these guys, like Matatawa, if they think that they're going to hijack the Masharah Yasharahla Council because they got a big mouth, they got another thing coming. These guys was wrong from the beginning. They was wrong for what they did. They was wrong for how they did it. They broke the protocol, and they tried to bully everybody to give them an option that shouldn't even exist on a council, because one school does not have the power to make everybody else on the council vote for a day. That goes against the agreement that we had of the black moon that everybody was keeping when we first got together back in 2014 and put the council in effect. So these are the things that you know, cannot be denied. So the pride that these guys have is making them say, well, we're gonna go forward as Masharah Yasharahla, and Parazah's gonna go his direction, and we're gonna go our direction, and all of this is based on the moon. All right? All of this is based on the moon. No, it's based on pride and arrogancy. To the point to where we have a whole office of men that are staffed in other countries that fill our offices as Masharah Yasharahla. I need the extension cord to plug in from here. I think it's downstairs. So we have a whole staff. So we have men working in these offices. And they say, oh, the men from Banya Yasharahla that staff Masharah Yasharahla, they can vote also. So then when the votes come in and we win the freaking vote, the wicked vote, we wanted to say April 14th is the Passover date. And then Osh goes and says, well, I investigated. There were some improprieties. Parazah tried to call Bam to try to influence Bam's vote. You had guys voting that we don't even know about. Who are these people? Now they want to give rules retrospectively. Now, mind you, all of this is happening because these guys brought in a whole new calculation method for the new moon without no rules. And when we object to it, they didn't take it away and say, well, we're going to do it the way you all have been doing it from the office of Nathaniel Allah, office of calendar. They didn't say that. But when we won the vote, then they said, well, the vote was illegal. People shouldn't have been. Why were we voting in the first place? If we have an office, that's like we're going to have a vote to see if Barack is going to be the spokesperson at the next summit. That's the office. Let him do his office. All right? Let him do his office. Let him do his office. All right? Shaul Yisrael, brother, don't come on here asking me for my email because all you do is try to ask people for money. All right? I'm not with that. Don't come on here with that. Stay off of my feed, Ak. You come on here, you in all the WhatsApp groups, and you begging people for money. You've been doing it for over a year. Stop it. Don't come on here with that madness. Don't come on here asking nobody for no email, bro. Don't do that. Stay off of my feed with that begging stuff, man. It's a scam. You a scamster, all right? You're going to be hidden from my channel. Bye-bye. All right. This guy's coming on asking everybody for money every time, man. Nobody wants to deal with these grown men, all right? Find a hustle, man. You know, find a hustle. Go get a gun and go to the Diamond District or something, man. I'm joking, all right? I'm joking. But no, so seriously, these guys, you know, they want to hijack the council to be only House of David or House of David supporters. That's why you got Zaquan on there. Anybody on the council know this is the origin of what happened. Everybody tried to switch up, and when the vote was cast, the the date of the the date of the 14th is the date that they said was the Passover date. Damn, vote. And just for the record, this is peripheral, but I received information, official information, scribe information on how Bam voted. And I approached Bam to know why he voted for the 16th as opposed to the 14th. But I didn't ask him that. I asked him which Passover was he going to keep. And I got the transmission of me texting him back and forth. And this guy took the message and sent it to somebody else and said, well, I sent it to them because, and this is what he said on a live, so it's not hearsay. He said it on a live that's on my channel now. I sent it to them because I didn't know whether you was gonna be be doing the vote or somebody else was calculating the vote. but you never asked me that. You never asked me that. So no, you didn't send it to somebody to know who was doing the votes. You never said, are you counting the votes? You never said, hey, are you counting the votes? You never said nothing to me about any interest in what the vote count or who was taking the votes was. So anyway, the origin of all of this conflict is because the elders at the house of David that are part of Masharah Yasharahla, they felt like they could just come into the council and bully a new way of doing the calendar, not respect the office that was in place. In other words, how are you going to have an office of calendar that's doing the calendar dates the way that you calculate the new moon? And then when you do it, when you break that, and your camp starts to do it a different way, now you want to say that the government office is not calculating the dates anymore, that your school has a whole different way of doing it, and you want everybody to vote because that's not a government office. Your school is not a government office. Communications, what Muthatwa is over, don't have no influence over the calendar. Barak is supposed to be the spokesperson. That's not the calendar. Banya is supposed to be the treasury. That's not the calendar. And Ash was security and counseling. That's not the calendar. Nathaniel was over the calendar. But even before that, all right, before that vote, Barak had already put up the House of David dates as the Masharah Yasharahla dates, which was totally off. It was total opposite. Like I said, it was a hijacking. It was a takeover. They've tried to take over the council now. That's why you got 6 elders on what they think is the council, which is not. 6 elders. Out of them 6 elders, 4 of them are from the house of David. The same ones that introduced the Book of Enoch calendar, all right? The same ones that introduced the crescent moon calendar. Those are the 4 out of the 6 that are left on the council right now. So it's not a Parazah problem. It's we had 5 other elders on the council that either tried to get booted off or left the council. And that was 6 of them, and 4 of those 6 are from the house of David. So Muthatwa is going to try to make it like it's a Parazah problem, all right? It was not a Parazah problem because Kahan left the council, Shalomah left the council. You tried to kick off myself and Zaquan Nathaniel, and then Thawam left the council. That's 5 men that left the council. 6 men are left. And of those 6, 4 of them are from the house of David. So now it's like the elders over Israel are basically being run by the house of David. And the house of David elders on Masharah Yasharahla are the ones that introduced the confusion based on the crescent moon. All of this is behind. We had a council meeting about it also. So this is the root of the root of the conflict. All right, this is the root of conflict. And I'm not a pushover. I was quiet for a few years, right? But the Book of Enoch and the crescent moon, that's not the direction we're going. If these guys want to say, hey, these are grown men, if they want to say we're going to use the crescent moon, we're going to use the Book of Enoch, that's their choice. That's their wrong choice. They can make that bad decision if they want. But what they're not going to do is to try to demonize me or Zaquan Nathaniel to make it seem like we have problems working with others. No, we have problems working with men that don't keep their word, that break what they say and try to have everybody else flow along with them to go against the rules. If you were at them summits, the 6th summit, the 5th summit, the 4th summit in California, hosted by Shield of Wisdom, all right, in Compton, if you were there, you know that Barak said we go by the articles of belief. He talked about the articles of belief. So in the articles of belief, it stated that all of the elders agreed to at the 6th summit in San Antonio, Texas. They all agreed to it at the 6th summit in San Antonio, Texas. But of course, you got some of these elders that says, hey, shalom, Nehemiah. You got some of these elders are gonna say, "Well, no, we didn't agree to it. We didn't agree. What were you agreeing? What were you doing? You agree by default because the articles of belief only state the things that you were already doing when we first got together as Masharah Yasharahla. So you already agreed to it by your actions because this is what you have been practicing since you came into the truth at the house of David, all right, in Ohio, in California, Shield of Wisdom, because we all are students and descendants of Masha, all right, going back to Bivens. But many of the men didn't know Bivens. Everybody knew King Masha. So that doctrine that was taught and the way we did the calendar was the same when we got together in 2014 and put the Masharah Yasharahla council together. So now if you say I don't want to do that no more, that's your prerogative. But that's not what we agreed to. That's not what we were doing when we got together. And why should your school's change in doctrine become the default doctrine for the national government? Do you understand the audacity? Do you understand the pride? Do you understand the gall, the effrontery? Do you understand the balls that you have to try to have to tell everybody, my school changed how we did things, so we're going to change the official way of doing things for the whole government? Hip hip hooray. Yes, let's all follow the calendar that the house of David decided to follow when they came back from the desert of Israel. Let's not follow the official government calendar that Elder Nathaniel is over that office. We're not going to follow that. We're going to follow Barak and him because he's the spokesperson. No, Barak is supposed to represent the position of the council, but he's representing the position of his school. Mathalto is supposed to be doing communications for the nation. He's doing communication, giving you bad news about me. And then if it's not me, Barak is giving videos about the bad news about Guerrilla Hebrew. So who is it? Who's in charge? Is it Mathalto can make a video about me, and then Barak? Who's the spokesperson? Who's the communication person? Why is Mathalto making a video about me, and then Barak is making a video about Alizar, about Guerrilla Hebrew from Sakai? Why you got two different people making videos about who's not on the council no more? As if they have the authority to say who's not on the council no more. As if the council has the authority to go around the protocols that the Torah guarantees in any legal proceeding. All right, in any legal proceedings, right? What'd you say? You say that let me see what you said. Okay, you said I don't see the point of the Masharah Yasharahla council if we all can't come on one accord, and being a respected person, this council isn't of the Most High. All right, maybe you're not of the Most High. You ever think about that? If we ain't on one accord, you're not perfect. Maybe you ain't of the Most High, all right? Nobody never said that the Most High came down and whispered in nobody's ear to do nothing. You changing your name is not of the Most High. You being on this broadcast is not of the Most High. You don't get to say what is and what ain't of the Most High. Who appointed you to be the one to say what's wrong with the council? See, now you talking about a structure, or you talking about the pieces in that structure? That's like the Old Testament, New Testament, saying that the New Testament ain't of the Bible because they contradict the Old Testament. They can get away with that. But when you look at the elements of it and you analyze it and you compare it, you'll see that it is all in one accord. So don't say that it's not of the Most High, because the Most High gave us the tools that we need to make the decisions that we need to make our lives better in His name. And having a council is part of doing that. And if you got corrupt men on the council, that doesn't mean that the council is not of the Most High. That means that the men is not of the Most High, because the concept of the council is in the Bible. It's all throughout the Bible. Acts chapter 2 shows you they came together at Jerusalem and had the big meeting. Acts chapter 15 talks about the council that Israel had after the resurrection and ascension of the Messiah into the heavens. They had a council at Jerusalem. Council was just a group of men that come together. Yeah, okay, now we're clear. So the counsel is of the Most High, but these brothers changing up their doctrine, Nehemiah, is definitely not of the Most High. All right. So the council came together under an agreed doctrine. So they changed their doctrine once we all got together, man. So I can't help that. Don't say the council is not of the Most High, because we have to have councils. I mean, you and your wife have to counsel together. If you have a school, you're doing anything, you have, the scripture says, in the multitude of counsels, there is safety. So you have to have counsel from a council regarding national matters. That's why it says gather yourselves together. And that's what we're trying to do. But when these guys came, Nehemiah, and they said, well, we're going to switch up everything, we're not going to do this, that's what's not of the Most High. That's where the wickedness came in. So you're going to see videos with brothers trying to demonize me, but let's stick to the facts of what happened. There's no way Karash can say that it's okay for these guys to change their doctrine and then try to get everybody else to get off the council that don't agree with their doctrine. And that's vocal. That's why they had a problem with me. The root of it was they were wrong. But then they're trying to demonize me because I was vocal against what they did. And Barak admitted, like I said, I say the truth in Christ, I lie not. Barak admitted that they was wrong for how they went about it, but they never undid it. They kept it in motion. But, you know, Barak's a liar. Barak's proof, he's not going to say he told me that. He's going to probably deny it. He's a liar. Barak denied me on a council call that he even talked to me. This is how much of a liar this man is. He said he never even talked to me about me having a problem with him. But for my own safety, I recorded the conversation. So when he denied it, the brother said, well, I got a conversation of you talking to him. Barak said, I didn't know, Paras, I recorded that conversation. What is the problem, that I recorded the conversation for my own safety and you didn't know, or that you just lied and said that you didn't talk to me? And then you admitted that you knew we had a conversation, but you didn't know I recorded it. So which one is the problem? Me recording for my safety to be presented if it's necessary as evidence when you say that I'm a liar, I didn't talk to you? So you calling me a liar when you're the liar, and if I don't have no evidence, that's going to be another nail in the coffin of you trying to bury me, man. And you dealing with men that don't have integrity. So that's the problem, that these men don't have integrity, and if you come against them, they're going to try to demonize you. They're going to try to make you look bad, like you're the crazy one. They're going to try to make you look like you're wrong for saying that they're wrong. But at the end of the day, we all were doing the same thing, right? We all were doing the same holy days. We had the same dates. So how can they try to make their dates the dates for the whole nation, which Masharah Yasharahla means government of Israel? Amari, Shalom, Shalom, good to see you here. How can they try to make their dates the default date for the whole nation? That's not government. And what it is, that's the elders. Like I said, I'm not talking about nobody else at the house of David. I'm talking about the elders of the house of David from the council of Masharah Yasharahla. Those four men, Banya, Ash, Mathatha, and Barak. That's who I'm talking about. So none of these men said, hey, we can't. None of these men have ever said, Barak, Mathatha, we can't try to make our dates the default date for the nation. They never said that. So these guys are kind of just sitting back watching how everything goes. They're not standing up against Barak. Myself, I'm the only one really standing up against Barak on the elders' council against what's happening. And then Mathatha, he's making videos about me. He's never talked to me about this situation that he's trying to condemn me for something and trying to dismiss me. No, you can't dismiss me, man. How you gonna dismiss me from something that you already walked away from when your actions was opposite to the agreement that we had as a council? And the reason I'm fighting so hard for this thing is because justice must be served. You must, as a person, as an Israelite, understand what is the root of this conflict. And the root of the conflict comes from men breaking their word and not wanting to be held accountable for it. That men change doctrine and then change the date on how we do things. You are going to follow the dates that they present to you, and we're going to follow the House of David dates that Masharah Yasharahla came up with. Not the office of calendar. Calendar. You have a Masharah. Can anyone guess what the office of calendar job is? Can you guess? I'm sorry?
Make the calendar.
I'm sorry?
Make the calendar.
Make the calendar. What does Masharah mean?
Government.
So this office is supposed to make the government calendar. All right. Yeah, that was done. That was done. I'm gonna get back to that, Nehemiah. If you have an office for the government that's supposed to make the calendar, how can somebody else come and say this is the calendar that we need to vote on? You see the disorder? So if you're a part of Masharah Yasharahla and you have an office, anytime that the elders from the house of David that are part of Masharah Yasharahla decided they want to change the doctrine, all they got to do is try to get everybody to vote for what they think to get you out of your office so they can be the ones that determine what the policy is going to be in your office. So the offices aren't being respected in autonomy. The officers are trying to be controlled by Masharah Yasharahla. By the house of David elders that are on Masharah Yasharahla. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to control all the offices. They're trying to tell everybody else, this is what you do, this is how we're going to do this. Now this was communicated for years. Hey, you guys going against the articles of belief. We're not going to use the new moon dates over here. That's not the Passover. It says, the brother said, if they've a problem with a brother or any elder, they should apply Matthew 18. But it seems they do is make videos on one another. Yeah, a video was made against me. So that's what I'm responding to by name. Every name I'm mentioning are, people that have made statements in council. And I did. Listen, brother. Listen, there's 3 steps. You forgetting about that. All right? You got the first step is when you go to the person. The second step is you take witnesses. The third step, you say you take it to the whole church, is what it says. That's what it says. So let's not forget those other 2 steps. And let's not assume that me being in step 3 means I didn't go by step 1 and 2. All right? So I'm referencing, I'm between steps 2 and 3. Because I went to the brothers, they was there, I said you was wrong. I sent correspondence to the brothers, said you was wrong, and I put in attachments. All right, CC'd everybody that knew what happened as a witness. All right, and the people I CC'd knew what happened that were on the elders council, and some of them were on the officers council. They received the emails as well. All right, so I'm between step number 2 and step number 3, meaning that I haven't brought it to the church for adjudication, but I'm just speaking on it so people will know the origin of these videos that Mathathua made against me by name, mentioning me by name. So I have a right to defend my honor. I have a right to defend my name when anybody defames me and paints me in a negative light. And I'm letting you know what is the origin. Why did all of this bad blood start? Why did the conflict begin? And it started because men did not want to keep their word. Men did not want to keep the doctrine that they had been keeping. Men think they have a plexiglass, Gumby, all right, slinky, weeble wobble doctrine. All right, and I'm 49 years old, and I've been in this walk since before I was 21. So I've been in this walk more than well over half of my life, my lifespan. I came to this walk when I was 20 years old, right? I'm 49 now, all right? So I'm solid in what I believe is the moon, because I've been studying these things, and these guys, These guys haven't been studying these things. So they go to somebody in the wilderness of southern Israel, and they get introduced to a new book and a new doctrine that they want to bring to everybody else, and they try to discard. All right, what do you call that? What do you call it when you go to some other entity and you get information and you bring it back to try to, oh, these guys are trying to do a coup. This is a coup. They're trying to do a coup. They're trying to kick out the elements of government that disagree with them, the official government officers that are doing their job the right way, and they're trying to say, you got to go. That's a personality problem. You got 6 elders right there. And in Karash, he used to be part of the house of David. He used to be up there studying and worshiping all that with them too. You understand? But that's another story. All right, that's another story. But again, this is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. That's why I'm not getting into a whole bunch of peripherals. I'm sticking to what is the root, what is the cause of all of this. And for several years, we tried, myself and Zaquana Daniela, we tried to rectify the situation in the elders group of WhatsApp for Masharah Yasharahla. We tried to fix everything. We tried to correct it. But the brothers refused. But they have a very aggressive, dominating, and antagonistic and bullying attitude. Barak is aggressive, and then Mathathwa is passive aggressive. The same thing they were doing back then in ancient times. All right, I agree with that. All right, there's nothing new under the sun. The same thing they were doing back then in ancient times. All right, so when all this information comes forward, you know, you don't get to say, well, this guy's out and this guy's in. There's a protocol. Now, it's another thing. We have a conflict resolution and grievance protocol that you fill out, you bring witnesses, and it gets resolved. And if it can't get resolved on that third try, like how Mashiach showed us, like Christ showed us, you bring it before the whole church. Don't you know that they didn't go through that process for Guerrilla Hebrew, for myself, and they've tried to vote me off the council like 2-3 times. They tried to vote Nathaniel off the council like 2-3 times. They've never went through the official biblical process to do that. So the root of all of this is that people don't respect their own word, and they don't respect the word of the Most High. They don't respect the word of the Most High. And they want to just switch their doctrines with no consequences. They want to switch the way they do stuff with no consequences. All right, so that's the story. And again, I would really love to talk to somebody I would really like to talk to somebody that says that what I'm saying is a lie. And this is the thing. They can't say what I'm saying is a lie. And they can't tell you what is the root of the problem. And they can't explain why the root of the problem should not be resolved. Because it's easy to resolve. If you are practicing something, when you become part of it's like, for example, it's like, let's say you got men, we start a school, and we all believe that the Sabbath is on Friday night to Saturday night. Okay. So then we got the school going for 3 years. Now, let's say for argument's sake that everybody else agreed to that, but I never said I agreed to that. But I'm keeping the Sabbath, no other Sabbath I'm keeping, Friday night to Saturday night. That's the only Sabbath I'm keeping. And then 3 days later, I start to keep a whole nother Sabbath. 3 years later, I start to keep a whole nother Sabbath. And then I say, well, we need to put this Sabbath to the vote of the congregation. I didn't agree to no Sabbath agreement. See, these are the games that these grown men are playing. Right? These are the games that these grown men are playing. Well, I never signed the Articles of Belief, but you was keeping the Sabbath the same way we keep the Sabbath. So you can't come now and try to change the Sabbath and say you never agreed to keep the Sabbath the way that we're keeping it now. You don't get to do that. And this is the story that Matthias was trying to do. I didn't agree. Like I said the truth in Christ. I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Spirit. Romans chapter 9, verse 1. The truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth to help me God. At the sixth summit, I had papers that I passed out to everybody. All right. I passed everything out to everybody. And the papers had different things that we need to do as a nation and as a people. And the Articles of Belief was also part of that. All right. So with the Articles of Belief being part of that, you understand, I was giving it to Matthias to read. Banya was sitting, here near me also. He was sitting down. So I gave it to Matthias. He kind of looked over it a little bit. And then he said, I give my vote to Banya. Whatever Banya said, that's my vote. That's what he, in essence, let me break it down for you. In essence, he said, let Banya read this for me. And if he agrees with it, then I agree with it also. And Banya read it. And Banya gave feedback, and he was okay with everything on there. So you don't get, 5 years later to say, well, you didn't agree. And then say, well, I didn't give my vote to, maybe you forgot. But like I said, I say the truth in Christ, I lie not. Most High is my witness that that's what happened. So if you say you didn't know or agree to it, my question is, which new moon were you keeping in 2016 at the summit? Which new moon were you keeping in 2016? All right, and what was that? I think it was June, right? The June or July. Which new moon were you keeping? You were keeping the black moon, 2016, 15, 14. That's the new moon you were. So how can you say you didn't agree with the black moon when that's what you were keeping? So you were keeping the black moon, and then you changed from the black moon to the crescent moon, and then you say that you shouldn't be held accountable. You should be able to change your moon doctrine that you had when we got together, and there should be no consequences. And the House of David elders should get to present their new doctrine to the whole council. But everybody else gets shut down. Everybody else is not presenting their doctrines to the council. But you get special treatment. You get respect to the person. No, it's not going to happen like that. So the root of the cause, again, is that the House of David elders that were present on Masharah Yasharahla, they introduced the book of Enoch. They introduced the crescent moon into our belief and practice system. And they, as recently as this year, 2022, they try to have men vote for the calendar date that they had, and they disrespected. They usurped authority. They were covetous of the office of calendar of Masharah Yasharahla, headed by Zaquana Danyala, who put work in to Matter of fact, it just so happens, I got the notes that he was gonna do at a speech he was gonna make. He gave the date. So if this is the official government office, how do Barack and them have the right to say, nah, we ain't gonna go with your dates because your dates don't go with our new doctrine? How do they get to do that? They're not the government. They're members of the government, and they're not even in the office of calendar. So why they even got anything to say about the calendar if the calendar is being conducted in the same way? They trying to make everybody else switch up. And if you don't rock how they want you to rock, then they're going to throw you out the boat. But they can try to throw me out the boat because I got a life preserver and a life jacket and an inflatable raft. And I'm headed toward the shore, and you going deeper into ocean. And all you got on your boat to drink is salt water. I'm going to the island of springs and freshwater rivers and streams and creeks. That's where I'm headed to. I don't know where your boat is headed to, right? So They trying to throw everybody out the boat that don't agree with them, but they on a bloody sinking ship, man. These guys are on a sinking ship. Whatever a man sow, that's what he reap. All right. This is what Zaquan Nathaniel wrote. I didn't even know that this was on his paper right here. It says, after having a phone conversation with the elders of Masharah Yasharahla, it was agreed that the already established date of April 14th would be used as the start date for. I remember that phone call. The police department head Yakanan, who was on the call, agreed also for this year. The decision was based upon an AOB. So I remember that. The AOB is the Articles of Belief. So I remember that phone call when they said kind of crescent moon is a symbol that the Muslims use, the Greek pagans use, the Roman pagans use, all right? The Catholic Church uses it at the foot of that moon goddess. They use the crescent moon. And then the Hindus use it also on Shiva's head. Yes, it's a pagan symbol, all right? The Babylonians use it also. The Babylonians used it, all right? The number 2, it says, at sundown on April 14, 2022, the Feast of Unleavened Bread will begin. Number 3, the already established date of April 14, 2022 being used for Passover is based upon the moon being kasa, covered, according to guidelines set in the Articles of Belief. 4, the remaining new moons convocations are established for the rest of the calendar year 2022. This concurs with the Articles of Belief. Number 5, the offices of Torah and law enforcement and calendar have not gone outside of the Articles of Belief in establishing dates for the calendar. So Nathaniel is saying, like, we doing everything by the book. That's what he's saying right there, basically. And Madalta was saying, I didn't agree to it. Well, if you don't agree to it, you don't got no voice in it. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to anybody? Anybody hear what I just said? If Madalta is saying that he didn't agree to the Articles of Belief, but everybody else did, how do he got a voice in it now? Because he changed his doctrine and he's going by the crescent moon. Now he's got a voice. Bro, you one man. The office of calendar is making calendars according to the Articles of Belief. If you claim, which is not true, that you didn't agree to the Articles of Belief, you don't have a voice. Why are you even in this conversation? And the Articles of Belief was in place from the beginning. From the beginning. Why do you have a voice then? If you have an agreement in place for how we're doing something for years and you didn't agree to it, how do you now come and try to bring something else that we don't agree to, but we have a set standard and guideline in our office? I'm working under Nathaniel. He makes the calendar. I review the calendar and say, okay, yeah, I agree with that. To have a witness. I'm the witness to the work he does. So he does the work. I witness it. Bam, this is right. Okay. Or you got to look at the time again and see what time the sunset is going to be at this time of the year in this particular city. All right. So if he's the office of calendar, and the office of calendar is doing work under the Articles of Belief to get the calendar dates, how do Mathalta from the house of David get to say he didn't agree to the Articles of Belief, but he agreed with the house of David calendar dates, and he's keeping the house of David calendar dates, and he's part of a vote that happened trying to get the house of David calendar dates as the dates for Masharah Yasharahla. That's like somebody being at the house of David saying, this is the retarded madness, no disrespect to nobody, right? Yo, we got people in our family that's retarded and people not wrapped too tight, so don't take it that way. But if they make decisions and stuff like this, we're not gonna take them seriously, and that's what I mean. If you got somebody at the house of David that says, I don't agree with the I don't agree with the Book of Enoch and with the crescent moon, what are they gonna say to that person? Well, you don't gotta agree, but this is what we're gonna do. Nathaniel is over in an office. In that office, you're doing a calendar, right? You gotta have parameters. You gotta have a guideline on how to do the calendar. Mathalta didn't have that because it wasn't his job. So whether he agreed to the articles of belief or not does not have any bearing on the legitimate functioning of the office of calendar executing professionally and proficiently their job, man. So it doesn't matter if you don't agree with the articles of belief because you ain't in the office of calendar. What? But you were doing this, and this the other caveat. You were already practicing the articles of belief. You were already observing the dark moon. You were observing the dark moon. The office of calendar was doing the dark moon. And that's how we were getting our calendar dates that you were observing. So how can you now say, well, I didn't agree to that? As if that indemnifies, if that indemnifies you, it means you don't got to respect the office of calendar. If you in communications and I don't like, and you sending letters out to people, and I don't like the new Susan B. Anthony stamp, does that invalidate his office of communication? You see, this is what I'm saying about the elders from the house of David that's on Masharah Yasharahla. They stick their nose in everybody's business. They don't mind their own business. It ain't your office. You don't got no guidelines and no regulation about the calendar. Nathaniel does. But instead of letting him do their job, they get Karadazar Allah to make a calendar for the house of David, and then they put that calendar on the Masharah Yasharahla website. You see that? Because they agree with that, and they promote that as the government calendar, but it's not. It's bogus. So Zaquan Nathaniel, he made the calendar for 2022. And they told them not to put, so it sounds like if brothers don't agree with Masharah Yasharahla, either shut up or you get removed if you're teaching. No, Nehemiah. It's not the house of, it's not the Masharah Yasharahla. It's the house of David elders. Masharah Yasharahla is good, got boundaries. Masharah Yasharahla has the articles of belief. It's the elders from the house of David of Masharah Yasharahla that's trying to change everything up, not Masharah Yasharahla. So if you disagree with the elders that come to Masharah Yasharahla from the house of David, then Mathathwa and Barak are going to try to shut you up and shut you down and remove you from the council. That's what I'm saying. It ain't about Masharah Yasharahla is bad or whatever. It's Barak and Mathathwa are the ringleaders to remove people silently or loudly, passive-aggressively or aggressively that disagree with what they're saying, which goes against the doctrines of Masharah Yasharahla beliefs, all right? So it ain't Masharah Yasharahla is good. Masharah Yasharahla was founded upon the 12 articles of belief, which most Israelites were agreeing to at the time that we know, and then every elder on the council agreed with the articles of belief. You understand? Everybody was on the same page, and that was the beauty of it. That was the beauty of it. That was the beauty of it. I'm gonna say it again. That was the beauty of it. We were all on the same page, man. It was beautiful, except for the Feast of Weeks. That's the only thing we weren't on the same page about the Torah, about Hamashiach, about the new moon being black. We were literally all on the same page doing the same thing. But when they went to Israel, the house of David and some other brothers went to Israel. They tried to act like it was Masharah Yasharahla, but it wasn't, because myself and Nathaniel, Zaquan Nathaniel, we didn't even know they was planning a trip to Israel. They had private conversation with other elders on the council. But they knew that we weren't going to support that because they were trying to say that Tel Arad is the real Mount Zion. And we said, no, it's not. So we went there in 2000 and what was that, 20? We went to Israel in 2019. And we said, nah, we did our own research on the ground. We went down south and we went to Jerusalem, the real Jerusalem, where they got the Temple Mount at, which is not a holy site. And we looked at everything. We did the visual measurements and we walked the walls and we looked at the graveyards and we went into the ruins. None of that stuff is in Telerad. So that shows you that it's not Telerad. Anyway, so they had, so they were, and that's another thing. We never had no counsel about none of this. See, House of David, House of David has been saying, this is what we're gonna do on the Masharah Yasharahla Council. And a lot of brothers just kind of rock with them or roll with them because they looked at them as the vanguards for Yasharahla in New York. But they going against what Masha taught them. He told us not to mess with the articles of belief. I mean, he told us not to mess with the book of Enoch. And they went to that book of Enoch, and that changed their doctrines. All right? So people look at them as the vanguards or something like that or whatever. You know, they look at them at the vanguard, so they were the ones saying, we're going to go to Israel for Passover, and everybody just went to Israel for Passover with them. Went to Israel for Passover with them. And then we rented a place in Jerusalem, and we had like, what, 21 beds? We had like 21 beds and like a few mattresses. We had one, I could tell you exactly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? We had 18. All right, hold up. We had, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We had 18 beds with mattresses, and then we had 2 other mattresses, right? So we had like 20 mattresses. And we said, anybody want to come? Come on down here with us. We got a place for you to stay. You know, we got a bathroom. We already paid for the place for 21 days, for 22 days, right? For 3 weeks. You come on and stay with us. So we invite everybody to come because we in the real Jerusalem in Mir Shalim. You know, the real Jerusalem in the scriptures, not down in Tel Arad, you know. So that's why they didn't have us there, because we didn't agree with what they were saying. And they was switching the calendar up, and we didn't agree with that. So really, these 4 men, they're 4 men that stand together from one school. So they have more power, they have more votes, they have more influence over the council than anybody else. So if you talking against what somebody is saying, it's you against 4 men, and then 4 men can talk against you or be against you. The real Jerusalem is the Jerusalem that's on the map. That's the real Jerusalem. Don't believe the hype. I'm saying it's down south by the Dead Sea. Down south by no Dead Sea. All right. So, so you got to talk against 4 people. You know. So that was so that's the root of the problem. That's the origin of the problem. Masharah Yasharahla is a good counsel, but it got some leavening in it. It's an excellent biblical concept, but the leavening was brought in primarily by Mathalthwa and Banya. Mathalthwa and Barak, and they brought the leavening of the book of Enoch, which they don't even believe the whole book. And that's the sad part about it. They don't believe the whole book. They're going to take a piece of the book and say, this is what we believe in from this book, and the rest of the book they discard. And they use that to say, well, we're going to use the crescent moon as the beginning of the month. And that's wrong. All right. I can say that I saw a newspaper years back talking about Iraq was partly Jerusalem back in the day, before the name was changed. Military personnel also confirmed this, but only off record. That's too many. The Euphrates and Tigris rivers have always been known since antiquity, and they have too many ruins over there. But anyway, I mean, you know, it's something worth looking at and investigating just to get acquainted with the geography and with the archaeology. Okay. All right. So you know what I want to do though. I'm gonna talk a little more, and then when I finish, I'm gonna make sure I give me a warm shower, So we gotta make sure that the hot water heater is on because we gotta buy our gas down here in Mexico. We gotta put it, we gotta attach it, turn the hot water on, and it got a little tank, like a 30, I think it's the 30 kilogram tank. Um, so anyway, yeah. So you got to challenge all these other things. Now, Banyamyo will ask some very good questions, and Ash will kind of sit quietly, but he may ask questions also. But at the end of the day, all of these guys went against the Articles of Belief. No matter how good of a brother they seem like, they went against the Articles of Belief, and they're sitting back, letting Barak and Mathathua manipulate the council into following what the House of David following, instead of respecting that the government is a different entity from the government. Masharah Yasharahla is a different entity from House of David. They're trying to make what House of David does the same thing as the same thing as they're trying to make what the House of David does the blueprint for Masharah Yasharahla, and that would be fine if the House of David was in line with the Articles of Belief and didn't change their belief. See, this is something that House of David was started by King Masha, not Barak or Mathathua. So what they're doing is they're building upon a reputation, all right? Masha built that reputation. They're building upon a reputation of Masha, but then they changing what Masha was teaching. You understand? They change. Is the thing going? They changing what Masha was teaching. You understand? But they building upon what Masha started. He said, don't use the book of Enoch, and he was using the black moon. So if you're not using the black moon no more, and you're using books that the founder said don't use, why are you still using that man's name? Why not change your name to the House of Barak or the House of Mathathua? That's the pride, and that's the trick they play on people's minds, because they're not going to tell you we're using the book of Enoch now, not straight up, to the point to where you can go look on Barak's page right now. He got a page on on Facebook that says Masharah Yasharahla as a personal name. And then on Masharah Yasharahla as a personal name, he put the book of Enoch doctrine of the calendar on there, as if we, the house of the office of calendar, are going by what he put on his page. And then everybody believes that, oh, these are the house of these are the Masharah Yasharahla dates, and they're not. He pushing the House of David's doctrine, which is not even a House of David, bro. Like what they got now, because Masha did not stand for what they're doing. He told them, don't do what they're doing. All right. So they put up the House of David dates, the House of David doctrines, the House of David videos, and they teach them on Masharah Yasharahla platform inside of a page that says Masharah Yasharahla. But if you got a calendar office, right, and this calendar office is saying, oh, we're the calendar office, and Masharah Yasharahla, what do you need Barak to open his mouth to say anything about the calendar for? If you got a whole office that's supposed to deal with that. And this office got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all right? At least 5, 6 people that's working together at any given moment, between 5 and 7 people, all right? You got 4 men that's familiar with the calendar, working with the calendar, and you got 2 women. That's 6 people right there. That's 6 people right there that's dealing with that. And then as of late, you got like 1 other man, 2 other men that can deal with the calendar. There's 8 people right there. So how does Barak and Mathathua get to say that office is shut down? We're going to vote on how to do the dates. You don't get that to do that. That's not a government. Because like Zaquan Nathaniel said, everything he's doing is according to the guidelines of what everybody was doing before we got together as Masharah Yasharahla, and according to the Articles of Belief. So you got no reason to put this guy out of his job. You got no reason to say Barak is going to make a video about anything Barak got nothing to do with the office of calendar. Barak is a spokesperson. And if he's a spokesperson, he's speaking for what the government represents and tells him this is the message we need to give to the people. But he's operating as an independent agent with no oversight or supervision on what he says. And he's a spokesperson, and this is really, think about this. If the Masharah Yasharahla office of calendar has a certain way to do the calendar and has a certain way to do the dates for the calendar, and then the House of David has another way to do the calendar and another set of dates to do the calendar, and then Barak gets on a Masharah Yasharahla platform and says that he's representing Masharah Yasharahla, but the information he's bringing out contradicts what the Masharah Yasharahla government office said, and it agrees with the dates and the process that the House of David says. So at the end of the day, right, who is he really speaking for? Who is he the spokes for? For whom is he the spokesperson? For who is he? We're not going to do what you say to do. And then you got the House of David dates, and Barak says, these are the dates that we're going to use, man. If that ain't corruption, you can't see that, I don't know what is, man. He's not promoting the Masharah Yasharahla office of calendar dates. And all the dates he's presenting and saying, oh, you officers and you elders, vote for these dates. Why don't you all review these dates? Those are the dates of the House of David. All right? What's the guy's name? Karataza'Allah. He's the one trying to do the dates. He's the one trying to do the dates for the House of David. So you're promoting those dates. You're not promoting your own government dates. You're promoting your own school dates. Matato's over in Ghana, in Africa right now. He's not promoting the government dates. He's promoting House of David dates, man. Come on. We're not blind here. We all can see with our eyes. And we've all been deceived. Because they got what they want now. How come everybody's leaving the council except for the people from the House of David? How come you got 4 elders from the House of David and then 2 elders? I mean, when we first started the council, the House of David had 4 men. Everybody else had a maximum 2 people. But everybody thought they was gonna have an equal voice. I forget about it. Nah, you don't have no equal voice with these guys, man. You don't have no equal voice with these guys. How can you have an equal voice when it's 4 of them against 1 of you, and you're right? Let's suppose I wasn't on the council, and you got just the Kwan Nathaniel. He got every right to say that this is the way that I'm gonna do the calendar. That's what he's saying. Por esta manera yo voy a hacer el calendario según el artículos de creencia y según la Torah y según Salmos 81. So that's what he's saying. I'm going to do it according to, to the Torah, the Articles of Belief, and Psalms 81. You got 4 guys telling him, no, you're not going to do that. And you got Zaquan backing him up because he's following the crescent moon now too. And then you got Karash. You got Karash that's following the black moon. And he's saying, yeah, let's get rid of Parasah. Let's get rid of Parasah too. What government is that? You're gonna kick out a government officer? What? You may despise and hate my guts, Karash. You may hate my guts, but tell me it's right what these guys are doing, right? You may hate my guts with all your passion, but tell me that it's right for them to bring in the crescent moon doctrine and to bring in the Book of Enoch, because that's what this is about at the end of the day. Crescent moon, Book of Enoch, not Parasah. Not who I sold drugs to when I was 18 years old, all right? Not whose money I stole from the lunchroom. Any case I have is done, over with, and closed. I got no open cases. I wish I could say the same for all you brothers, all right? I wish I could say the same for all you brothers, all right? So, if that's the case, why are you against me? What did I do to you? What's wrong with the doctrine? See, this ain't this about what's wrong with the doctrine. What's wrong with the black moon I'm talking about? All right? What's wrong with not using the Book of Enoch? So you saying, okay, Barack and him is right, we gotta get rid of Paraz. Okay, fine. How you gonna get rid of me? How you gonna get rid of me? When we already had this thing set up, when we invited you into a garage, they didn't go to you from the gate. They didn't go to you from the gate. They can't, you wasn't a part of it. You wasn't even at the summit. You thought it wasn't gonna take off. You got an invitation to go to the summit. You didn't go to the first one, the second one, the third one. You came to the fourth one once it got into your home that you were living in Columbus. That's when you came out to it. And that's when they invited you to it. You hadn't been to none, to my knowledge. You hadn't been to none. And then I loved you and trust you as a brother. You flew down to Florida with my family, man. And this was what, 2017, right? 2017, you flew down with my family to the summit in Florida, man. And I ain't done nothing against you or nobody else since that time period. For you to say, we want him off the government. Well, look, Masharah Yasharahla is not in control of people. It's not in control of House of David. And that's the problem. The elders from the House of David think that they control the government. That's why Mathathwa, do you know Mathathwa made, I'm gonna make a whole nother video about that. I'm not even gonna go into that right now. But anyway, that's the problem, is that the House of David, Barack and Mathathwa think that they control the council. All right? You got, the House of David got an officer as an elder over the officers' council. And then Nathaniel was not even allowed, who's the officer over Torah and law enforcement, was not even allowed to be in those council calls or council groups. Okay? You got Mathathwa, who's supposed to be the officer over elder over communication. He's in the officers group also. He's in the officers group also. And then you got Barack, who's supposed to be the spokesperson. He's hosting the summits. He's the one that's the MC for the summits. He's not the spokesperson for Masharah Yasharahla. He's the MC, because he don't speak for what Masharah Yasharahla government officers are supposed to be doing. He speaks for whatever the position House of David has. He don't speak for the position that we have, because when you look at it, we didn't believe in no crescent moon in the book of Enoch, so why is he promoting that as a government position? That we believe in it. It's on the Facebook Masharah Yasharahla page, which is under a private name, but we don't agree to that. The Office of Calendar don't agree to that. So these guys are not doing the stuff the right way, man. And that's why I say they're not Masharah Yasharahla. All right? Everybody's siding with the House of David. It's not Masharah Yasharahla anymore. It's just a House of David. It's an expansion of House of David Council. And these guys that are officers are basically officers under House of David, because that's who's calling the shots. And you know it. The reason to know you calling the shots is because the officers told Mathathwa that he couldn't do nothing against me or Nathaniel. Don't you know he still made a video saying that we was off of a council, and they told him he couldn't do nothing against us? And don't you know that that video is still standing right now? Because the officers have no control over Mathathwa. He does what he wants to do. He don't respect the officers' council. They can't do nothing to him. They're not going to do nothing to him unless they get a new spirit on them to really want righteous justice to be executed. But they've just been used to vote on people, to go against people that Barack and Mathathwa and the other elders on the council didn't like. And that's all they've been doing. That's why they came against me, because they didn't like what I was saying. I didn't do nothing against these guys. They didn't like the fact that I was making videos against the wickedness that they were hiding, and they refused to have any public meetings about Masharah Yasharahla government affairs. So that's the root cause. The root cause is that they moved in secret when they start using the book of Enoch, because nobody knew they were even going to make that video. I didn't know. Most High is my witness. Nathaniel didn't know, because we were together when the video came out, and I saw it on the TV. I saw it on the computer or something. All right? So they decided they were going to start using the crescent moon in the book of Enoch without talking to nobody. It was a secret. It was a secret. They just came out the woodwork. That's the respect they have. But when they found out somebody was cooking on the Sabbath, they had a whole council call meeting about that person wanting to cook on the Shabbat. When Karash said that, oh, we can cook on the Shabbat, they had a whole meeting said, Karash, you can't teach that. I was on that call. But when they came out with a whole new doctrine, with a whole new crescent moon and a whole new book, Karash didn't condemn them. House of David elders on Masharah Yasharahla didn't have no meeting about that. But now look at Karash, all up there behind, doing whatever they think, or a lynch mob against me. Or what did Nathaniel do? Why y'all not inviting him to y'all little funky elders calls? It's not a it's not a Masharah Yasharahla club no more. It's not a government club. It's not an all-inclusive, all Israelites around the world matters club. It's a House of David club now. And these guys are scared to come against the elders of the House of David. But I'm not scared of these guys. Because they did Karash wrong and dirty, and he's watching them do me wrong and dirty. They did him wrong and dirty because they changed the whole doctrine with no reprimand, and he said he wanted to cook on the council. He wanted to cook on Sabbath, and he got reprimanded almost immediately when they found out about it. So how come Karash can't call a meeting for their reprimand? You know who made the decisions to have the reprimand council? Barak, the other elders of the House of David, and then everybody else. But if we decide to have a reprimand council against them, we've been supposed to have a conversation about the book of Enoch for like almost 2 years now. Never happened. Never happened. But how could they get on a phone and condemn Karash so quickly when all he said, I want to cook on the Sabbath, which is a sin, which is wrong, but nonetheless, it was cooking on the Sabbath. But he was keeping the correct Sabbath on the correct day. These guys changed the whole doctrine, and Karash is against the book of Enoch, and he's against the crescent moon. So what is he going to do when they bring another doctrine and he's one man and these are 4 guys? What they're doing, they're getting rid of the opposition. Anybody with a loud mouth, anybody that can verbally oppose them, they get rid of them. All right, so these guys here now, you know, they're a bunch of behind kissers. They're yes men. They're yes men. Karash have not presented no formidable. Zaquan has not presented no formidable opposition to the House of David elders on the Masharah Yasharahla Council since we got together. Never. He's never had no meetings or said nothing against them using the book of Enoch in the council call or against them using the crescent moon in a council call. Everybody just sit back and watch and wait for Barak to call a meeting, and then they come to the meeting. And then when the meeting is, you know, I object to what he got to say if he's wrong. But I get shut down and he argues against me, intimidation tactics. And then I stop fighting the man. Because he's an older man. Older man, he's wrong. I'm not going to keep arguing with you, man. You know, you're almost old enough to be my father, man. You know, oh, no, actually, he's not old enough to be my father. I think it's like maybe 11 years older than me. That's not old enough to be my father. You know, I think he's like maybe 59 or 60. I'm 49, 59. Yes, he's 10, 11 years old. He's not old enough to be my father. He's my elder by age, but not in the Torah because he doesn't walk in the Torah. So anyway, he's arguing with people. He yells and he gets loud and, you know, and he shuts people down like that. He's got a very intimidating tone when he starts to disagree with you. All right, got a very intimidating tone. So nonetheless, Karash doesn't object to this. Karash don't believe in the book of Enoch, and Karash don't believe in the crescent moon. He believes like I believe. So how now you're going to play politics and take their side and try to get rid of me as if I'm wrong? You see? And he's on the council want to let everybody come in. Any doctrine can come in now. But the root of the problem, the origin of the problem, is that the House of David was sneaky, deceptive, deceitful, inconsiderate, and out of order for bringing in the book of Enoch and starting to use a crescent moon calendar, which is against what they were doing when we started Masharah Yasharahla Council. And they wanted everybody to just go along with that change and not really raise no objection. And that they got what they wanted. For so many years, they got what they wanted. Nobody really started to raise any objection. you know. But then they got bold and said, we need to have a vote on the Passover dates. You're using a whole different book and a whole different doctrine. We're not going to vote on your book and your doctrine because your school, House of David, decided to change their doctrine against what the founder of the House of David, who is King Masha. He didn't use the crescent moon. He used the black moon. He didn't use the book of Enoch. He used the Bible alone. But they wanted to change it, and people don't know that that's not how it was founded. So when they wanted to change it, they didn't want us to object. But we objected, and now that objection leads to very expressive discontent and very expressive objections. And they don't have thick skin. They don't have thick skin, so they're mad at what I'm saying. I mean, you from New York. How you gonna get mad if I say somebody don't have no balls? If I say somebody's a sucker for letting you change their mind to go against your belief, what are you upset about? These are words. Are you upset with what I said, or are you upset with what I said? Are you upset? Is the problem what I said? The objection that I make, or is the problem I don't like how he said that? Welcome to the club, because Christ said, you of your father the devil. All right? Christ said, get thee behind me, Satan. John said, you are a generation of vipers. All right? Isaiah said, you a bunch of greedy dogs. And then the Most High called us whores. The Most High said Israel is a whore. Israel is a hoe that don't get no money, that pays her Johns and her tricks money. So don't get mad at me for language I use, because the Bible uses far worse language than I use. You understand? The Bible uses far worse language than I use, my brother. And you supposed to be a what? New Yorker? Guys from New York? Guys from Florida? Guys from Detroit? Guys from Columbus? All right, guys from Atlanta. These are guys from big city. These are big city guys, man. What are you upset about somebody using a word that, what's the truth of the matter? The truth of the matter is that these guys have been intimidating the council. And everybody knows that's why you go on these council calls. It's not an environment. What do you think, brother? Anybody who's been on a council call with me knows that it's a very different experience. Very different experience than being on a call with these other brothers. Very different experience. I'm actually listening to what you're saying. You can object and disagree with what I'm saying openly and boldly. That's your right. I want to hear it. I'd rather hear it now than hear it from somebody else, a week later behind my back. You understand? So that's the truth of what happened, ladies and gentlemen. The problem and the root and the origin of the problem is that the elders from the House of David that represented Masharah Yasharahla on the council wanted to change their belief and their doctrine, their new moon, and bring in the book of Enoch. And we didn't like that because it went against the agreement that we had from the beginning, and it went against the articles of belief. And they brought in books that King Masha said we cannot use, not to use. And they violated all of that. And they want no consequences now. So what I'm saying is that they're not Masharah Yasharahla anymore. They're going through the motions, and I'm not giving them too much. I'm not giving them too much beef right now. They're going through the motion, but all that's gonna stop. They're gonna stop calling themselves Masharah Yasharahla because the Most High is confusing people, and the Most High is not the author of confusion. It's confusing people to think that whatever House of David does is representing the whole government, and it doesn't. It represents the House of David, and they're trying to make everything the House of David do what the nation does, and I'm not going to let that happen. This is your government. This is your government. It's not our government. We literally work for you. We supposed to be working for you. This is your government, and if you don't stand up for it, you won't have a government. If you don't stand up against tyranny, if you don't stand up against hypocrisy, if you don't stand up against truce breaking, you're not going to have a government. You're not going to have anybody to represent you on a large scale to bring us together from all the scattered tribes around the world. And that's the goal. That's the goal. So don't sit back idle, Write your congressman, write these elders, ask questions. You know what? Ask for an open dialogue, controlled about what happened, how it happened, and you'll hear for yourself what's right and what's wrong and what needs to be done. That's all. But they're not gonna do that. See, they think they're above you. They don't want to come down to the level to talk to little people, right? I'm already a little person, so I don't gotta go no lower. You higher than me. I work for you. I'm your employee. But these guys don't want to talk to the people. They don't want to hear the people's voice. I'm always hearing the people's voice. I'm always asking the people what they think. I'm always mingling with the people at the summits, not these guys. So this is what's going on, you know. So those days are over, though. You got to take your government back. You got to get organized and structured with Masharah Yasharahla, which right now, myself and Zaquan Nathaniel are the main elders trying to make everything stronger globally. And we're making tremendous progress through the grace of the Most High. All right, so I'm going to get off of this live now on this broadcast. And may Yahweh continue to bless and protect all of you in the name of Yahweh Shih HaMashiach. All right. This is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The statements that I have given regarding what started the problem in the conflict with Masharah Yasharahla. Don't get distracted by everybody's reaction. Become focused and act don't get personal about it. Like, well, what did Parazai do wrong? Stick to the facts. Don't get stuck in the smear campaign. Why is Parazai objecting? What's the problem? What started the problem? Well, Parazai, he's just hard to get along with and people just don't like him. Okay, but what's the problem? What does he have a problem about? And what started the problem? See, that's what we want to talk about. Well, I want to talk about all these other things you want to bring into the equation, man. That's psychology. That's you trying to trick me. I don't want to talk about, you know, last summer's heat wave. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about why did Parazai and Nathaniel start to have a problem with the council? And the problem that they had, was it justified or was it just BS? Was it a justified problem? And was the problem fixed? And this is the problem. It's a problem that's still a problem. It's never been fixed. So all the paperwork, all of the motions, all of the conference calls, these guys are operating on the council out of order because the problem never been fixed. They're still using the Book of Enoch. They're still pushing these bogus calendar dates, and they're still trying to be unfair toward brothers that they don't like, that they got a problem with, and not giving these brothers a fair hearing. But they shouldn't even be on the council is what the whole problem is. How can you go against the council, got doctrines that go against the founding doctrines, and then operate against the structure that you agreed to, which is the conflict resolution agreement protocol? Why are they still on the council? Why haven't the officers said, you guys are off the council? But they voted me off the council. But when they voted me off the council, I continue operating as Masharah Yasharahla. I didn't stop being Masharah. I've never stopped being Masharah Yasharahla and operating and doing things as Masharah Yasharahla. You know, we had a Passover celebration in Dominican Republic and in Haiti. We had a Pentecost celebration, all right, over in Puerto Rico. You understand? We've had several things that we're still doing as Masharah Yasharahla. So just because Barack and Mathafa got some people together and say, let's vote them off and vote them off, we still operated. These guys have no authority over nobody in Israel. They are paper tigers. They have no authority whatsoever. Don't let them scare you, intimidate you, or brainwash you, or put no spell on you to think that they have any type of authority. They have no authority. Them guys as the council. And myself as Zaquan Nathaniel, the only authority that we have is what we're trying to do for the people under the requirements that we see in the scriptures, and that we're actually doing it. We're getting land for the people. We're setting up Torah schedules for the people. We're praying for and with the people on a daily basis. We're actually doing what what needs to be done to get our people together to raise up our nation. These guys are not. All right? They're preachers. Two-bit preachers at that. They're two-bit preachers, at best. All right? These guys are not really operating under the righteousness of the scriptures, man. All right? So again, we're gonna go ahead and end this broadcast now. All right? We've come to the end of the road. All right, there's more time left on this, but we're gonna go ahead and shut everything down. It's getting late over here, so may Yahweh bless and protect all of you again. Any problems you got, you can email at banyaunite@gmail, BANYAUNITE@gmail. Or you can check me out. You can go to Masharah Yasharahla Torah on Facebook. Or you can go to my personal page, Masharah Yasharahla, one word, on Facebook, and you pull me up. You can send me a message, send me a friend request and then send me a message, or you just send me a message. And I check those messages quite often I forget what they call them, but the ones that come from people that's not your friends. I look at them like almost every day to see if anybody has written me. I want to know what you think. I want to hear your voice. I want to know what is your opinion. I want to know what is your understanding. I want to know what you need and want from your government. I want to know what resources you think we need to have to share. And I want to know what resources you have to share with other brothers and sisters, scattered around the world as the children of Israel. All right, you're important to me. Your voice is important. I'm not here as a dictator. I'm here as a public servant to serve you, to help all of us get into the kingdom, all right, with our bodies whole, all right? So may the Most High bless and protect all of you, all right? I really love you all, man. I really love you guys, man. I really love you all. All right, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you and your support and your love and your prayers, man. So keep it up, and I'm definitely going to keep you in my prayers and keep loving you. All right, Shalom Lakum.